Thank you, Xiaolan. Now, imagine a country where it rains less than 200 millimeters a year, where aquifers are drying, where 97% of energy is imported. Now, imagine that same country opens its doors to 3 million forcibly displaced people. Overnight, no massive coastlines, just deserts, mountains, and resolve. That country is Jordan, a small nation, big in heart, but stretched to its limits. One of the more water-scarce places on Earth, one of the more energy-dependent, one of the more climate-vulnerable, and yet one of the most ambitious. Jordan contributes just 0.06% of global emissions, but it bears the brunt of the storm. It is quite literally paying for a crisis that it didn't cause. And still, Jordan doesn't stand still, it moves forward. Faced with a widening gap between need and resources, Jordan is making an active choice. Don't just set goals, achieve them. Enter results-based finance. It's not a loan for trying, it's a reward for delivering. A model where you do the work, hit the targets, verify the results, and then, and only then, the money flows. For Jordan, it wasn't just about getting finance, it was about delivering outcomes. To donors, investors, and international partners, Jordan sent a clear message. We are ready to reform. We are serious about results. We are not waiting for rescue, we are committing to change. And that signal was heard. The World Bank took the first step, and AIIB joined with strength. $450 million as part of a $1.35 billion joint package. Not just a funding pool, but a collective vote of confidence. Together, we back Jordan's leap of faith so the world could see a country boldly building the systems that prove it deserves it. In a region often seen through the lens of challenge, Jordan lit a different beacon: transparency, ownership, and accountability. Not build first, check later, but change first, verify next, then build. That's what results-based finance made possible, which in a nutshell means funds are only disbursed once predefined results have been attained. And that's where the story begins. Not with a pipeline, not with a wind turbine, but with a promise that trust can be built brick by brick when results lead the way. Jordan is a country of paradoxes. It's politically stable in a region defined by volatility. It's forward-looking, yet surrounded by barriers to growth. And it's reform-minded, yet every reform comes with a trade-off, because fiscal space is razor-thin. Here's the map you don't see on postcards. Jordan lacks oil, rivers that flow year-round, thriving farmland. Its economy is service-heavy, its currency stable, and its people young. But its development is constantly running uphill against geography, energy dependency, and now climate volatility. In Amman, rainfall is down, energy demand is up, the grid is aging, the government debt is among the highest in the region. Every cent must do more with less. And yet, half of the country's young people can't find work, not because they lack talent, but because the economy simply isn't generating enough value on its own. That's not just a labor issue, it's a development alarm bell. And yet, Jordan has plans. Big ones: a 31% GHG reduction by 2030, a climate-aligned investment pipeline, an economic modernization program to mobilize capital and reform institutions. But here's the challenge. Most of that can't move, not without money. Jordan has a climate plan, a bold one, but here's the fine print. They can't do this alone. That's not because it lacks ambition, but because it lacks leverage. 26%, nearly $5.7 billion worth of action, depends on international support from development partners. Now, please allow us to share how we at AIIB help turn that plan into a platform where each dollar disbursed stands on verified progress. And that's the shift from simply seeking investments to proving what's possible. Jordan didn't just outline targets, it hit them consistently, visibly, and at scale. As of December 2024, over 59% of AIIB's financing commitment has been disbursed, not because we move fast, but because Jordan did, one verified milestone at a time. The reforms were tough, the audits were real, but the results kept coming. Let's look at just one area first, tourism. For years, tourism in Jordan was underpowered, rich in heritage, but narrow in reach. Ruins, Petra, then back to the airport. Little spillover, little scale. But the investment promotion strategy, Jordan began to rethink the sector, not as a postcard, but as a platform to create jobs, to turn tradition, crafts, cuisine, and culture into livelihoods, to equip young people with practical skills, from hospitality and health and safety, to revenue management and digital marketing, to link local businesses with global travelers, to turn Destination Jordan into an ecosystem, not just an itinerary. Why, you ask? Because 46% of Jordan's youth is unemployed. Yes, 46%. Let that number sink in. But we are here in partnership with the Jordanian government to change. And it's working. Tourism is already among the fastest growing sectors, with new investments, new training centers, and new income streams emerging far beyond the capital. That this isn't just about attracting more tourists, it's about unlocking value that was always there, but never activated. And it's only one part of the broader transformation underway. Now, for the next part, I'd like to welcome Mihak onto the stage, the project team leader.
Thank you, Cody. And while tourism is transforming lives, like we described, within it and beyond it, there's another force quietly reshaping the future. It's Jordan's women. Because real reform doesn't just build economies, it brings people in. And when you bring women in, you change everything. Take Basma from Balka. She never imagined she would lead government efforts on sustainable energy. Today, she is the head of the CSR division at the Jordan Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Fund, increasing sustainable energy consumption across Jordan and breaking barriers in every direction. Or take Aida, who turned her passion for agriculture into a purpose. She joined the UN Women's Oasis Center as an agricultural trainer. Now she empowers women in her community with practical skills and entrepreneurial encouragement, turning her experience into opportunity and cultivating growth far beyond the field. It's a neighborhood effort. These women are not exceptions. They are the start of a wave, and the government is riding with them, rolling out gender-responsive climate policies, supporting training in sectors like energy, agriculture, and tourism, and proving that climate finance isn't just about carbon, it's about capacity. Because when women are trained, equipped, and empowered, they multiply impact. They bring climate solutions into schools, homes, farms, as well as businesses. They build resilience, not just for their families, but for entire communities. And this is why Jordan's transformation is so powerful. It's not just visible in numbers, it is lived in stories. In every rooftop solar panel and every backyard garden, there is a woman probably lighting the way. So yes, Jordan is reforming sectors, but look closer and you'll see what is really being built. A system where every piece, people, policy, and purpose fits together. So what we've seen so far, the investment plans, the tourism vision, and the job creation push, that's just the surface. Now let's zoom out and in, because the real story is not just what Jordan built, but how it built it. Take this number, 555,000 tons of carbon dioxide avoided. That is not just air made cleaner. It is the equivalent of pulling over 100,000 cars off the road for an entire year, in a country where nearly every car runs on imported fuel. Or this, 4.1 million units of clean electricity fed back into the grid. That is enough to power every home in Amman for nearly 3 years. But from where? Not from a mega plant, but it comes from 76 separate sub-projects, spanning government buildings, solar plants, as well as wastewater facilities, each a piece of a bigger puzzle, each a signal of what decentralized, targeted action can achieve. But these are not isolated wins. They are part of a coherent system, quietly built behind the scenes. And at the center of that system is a small but mighty team inside the Ministry of Planning and International Cooperation, the Reform Secretariat. Think of them as Jordan's command center, the Reform Secretariat. They don't just run the power plants, they don't pour the concrete, but they align the mission. They stitch climate resilience into budget decisions. They coordinate ministries across ministries like water, health, and infrastructure, and track progress not by promises, but by performance. In short, they made climate not a side project, but a governing principle of all investments. From preparing to launch a sovereign green bond framework, to publishing a climate-aligned investment pipeline, from strengthening regulations to unifying how results are monitored and verified, this is what building governance capacity for climate resilience looks like. So when you hear the terms CO2 avoided or megawatt hours delivered, don't just think of the numbers, think of a system that works. Not a silver bullet, but a backbone that can scale, stretch, and hold up under real-world pressure. And that is what Jordan has quietly done. In a region with unique challenges, it's building credibility, one verified result at a time. So far, we've talked about people, how reform has created new livelihoods in sectors like tourism, how it empowered women, turned untapped talent into engines of growth. We've also talked about energy, not just the megawatts, but the mechanisms that make cleaner, smarter grids possible. But to connect people to power, you need capital. Capital that is present and purposeful. That is where the next layer of Jordan's transformation begins. Today, Jordan is preparing to launch its first sovereign green bond. A financial instrument, yes, but more than that, it's a public signal of trust. It says every cent raised will fund projects that serve both the planet and people. No fine print, no shortcuts, just a transparent, accountable framework that channels proceeds into renewable energy, clean transportation, sustainable water and waste systems, pollution control, climate change adaptation, natural resource conservation, and biodiversity protection. In other words, not just infrastructure, but future-proof infrastructure. And that is not the only step forward. Jordan has also launched its climate investment pipeline, a curated list of high-impact projects designed to attract capital aligned with their overall climate goals. This is a signal to the market. Here are our priorities, here's how we'll deliver them, and here's the return, not just financial, but planetary. Because this is what transformation really looks like: complex, layered, and ultimately cumulative. It starts with people, it scales through systems, and it becomes durable when backed by capital that believes in the mission. And today, Jordan is showing the world that it's not just ready to receive investments, it's also ready to shape them through a focus on their results. So how do we wrap all of that up? The reforms, the results, the readiness for capital. You wrap it in a vision big enough to hold it all together and bold enough to take it further. That vision is Jordan's economic modernization vision of 2033. It is not just a policy roadmap, it is Jordan's answer to a tough question. How do you grow fast and grow fair without burning out your people or your planet? The plan spans 10 years, 8 economic engines, over 360 targeted initiatives, from digital services to green manufacturing, agriculture to advanced healthcare. The goals: double the GDP, create over 1 million jobs, lift people into opportunity without leaving the environment behind. And here's the key: climate is not a side goal in this vision, it is the engine. Clean energy isn't just about emissions, it's about lowering long-term costs. Climate-smart agriculture isn't just about adaptation, it's about food security and rural incomes. Green industry is not just about the optics, it's about attracting capital and exporting value. And here's how it all connects: the Reform Secretariat, the National Adaptation Plan, the Climate Investment Pipeline, and the Green Bond Framework. These are not scattered pieces, they are the scaffolding of the EM vision. They are systems that make long-term transformation bankable, trackable, and real. So when Jordan commits to results today, it's not only to unlock the next disbursement, it is also to unlock a decade of resilient, inclusive, and sustainable growth. Because this isn't about weathering the next shock, it's about designing a future that does not break under pressure. That's what the economic modernization vision represents: a country turning promise into policy and reform into legacy. So when we ask, where does the first brick go in development finance? In Jordan, it did not go into the ground. It went into trust. Trust that systems could be strengthened. Trust that results would speak louder than rhetoric. That reform, even in a resource-scarce, pressure-heavy environment, was still possible. And as an institution who's walked alongside this journey through audits, through third-party verifications of disbursement-linked results, government briefings, and field visits, we at AIIB have seen what is easy to miss from the outside. That what Jordan is building is not just infrastructure, it's institutional muscle. It's climate logic wired into public policy. It's a new center of gravity, pulling in capital, credibility, and cooperation. Because this is not just Jordan's bet. It's a shared test of what transformation in challenging contexts could look like. And in many ways, it's already working. Now, the real work is to build on that momentum, to close the climate financing gap, and to match their bold plans with our bold partnerships, and to show that in a region too often defined by limits, Jordan is defining something else entirely. It's a model, a proof point, and a call to action for what is possible when reform and resilience move as one. Thank you.